Shabbos Parshas B'Shalach, which was Chamishos B'Shvat in the year Tovshin Chovov, which is 1966. The Rebbe was a man that the Rebbe appointed a few Bochrim to become Chazrim, to help more in Chazara. And this is how it happened. I was actually one of those Bochrim, that's why I'm able to tell over all the details. That it was Yuchvat at night, the night of Yuchvat. The second night after Yuchvat, that night was the big Yuchvat Fabrengen by the Rebbe. But the night before was when we're sitting in 770, a few Bochrim, and Rabbi Yomin Klein came over to us few, and he said that Rabbi Chadakov wants to see you. When those days, if you heard that Rabbi Chadakov wants to see you, it was very exciting because there must be something special, and usually it's something that came from the Rebbe, and we had no idea what he wants. So when we came in, Rabbi Chadakov said to us that the Rebbe asked if you agree to help more in Chazara, to become Chazrim. So we said, sure. When we heard such a thing, such a suggestion, such an offer, Avada, we became Chazrim. And then he says, but do you know what this entails? And we said, yes, we knew, because we were actually Bochrim that used to help in Chazara anyway, but now the Rebbe wanted to make it stronger, wanted to make it more official. So we said yes. So he says, can I give this over to the Rebbe? So we said yes. We came out and we were obviously very excited, knowing the great achrayas that is there, but also the great schuz that's there. And then the next night there was the Fabrengen of Yuchvat. And the day after that, Rebbe Yomin Klein comes to us and says that the Rebbe had asked, how come we didn't come up to say l'chaim for this being appointed as Chazrim by the Fabrengen of Yuchvat? Because those years, the seder was that if somebody had a special bakosha, something to ask for a broch or something special, was able in the middle of the Fabrengen, the big Fabrengens, to go up to the Rebbe and say l'chaim. Some of them would even bring a bottle of mashke. So the Rebbe asked why we didn't come up. Then he said, since you didn't come up then, so Shabbos will be a Fabrengen, Shabbos B'Shalach, Behemshech to Yuchvat, so you'll come up Shabbos B'Shalach. Came Shabbos Parsha B'Shalach, after the Maimer Ken Siche, so all four of us, we were four of us, went up. The four of us were Reb Sholem Ber Levitin, Reb Shlomo Zarchi, Reb Ephraim Pekarsky, and myself. So we all came up to the Bime, where the Rebbe was sitting. We came on the right side of the Rebbe, he's on the right hand, the Rebbe's right hand, and we all were standing there, all four with a cup of wine, a little kelch of wine, to say l'chaim to the Rebbe. And when we were standing there, Rabbi Chadakov got up to tell the Rebbe what we're standing there for. And he wanted to tell him that we came up for this reason of Chazara. So the Rebbe said to him, Zoln ze allein zogen, let them say it themselves. So the first one who was standing there says to the Rebbe l'chaim, and the Rebbe says to him, Vos, what? I mean, the Rebbe knew what it's about, but he wanted them to say it with his mouth, wanted to say it begoli, bepeil. So he said, to help. So the Rebbe said, helfen vos? Help what? So he says, helfen in Chazore. So the Rebbe answered, Hatzlocha Rabbo. Then the second one he asked, Du eichet? You too? And he said yes. The same thing with the third and the fourth. And the Rebbe wanted each one Poshet to say with his own mouth that he's ready to help. And then the Rebbe looked at Rabbi Leibel. Rabbi Leibel was, those years, used to stand on the left side of the Rebbe. We, Bochrim, our places were on the right side, and he had a place on the left side. So the Rebbe looked at us, looked at him, and he says to him, Zok l'chaim zusammen. You should all say l'chaim together. So when we started trying to say l'chaim together, the Rebbe says to Rabbi Leibel, Oder du gehst zeh, oder sollen sie kommen zu dir. Or you go to them, or they should come to you. Well, you're standing on that side, they're standing on this side, or you go to them, or they should go to you. So Rabbi Leibel started getting up in order to go to our side. So the Rebbe says to him, Was darfst du arop gehen zu sei, sollen sie nicht alle werden zu dir? Why are you going down to them? Let them go up to you. And the Rebbe used the lotion, Bali Yoson shel Bailim. The truth is, at that moment, when he said it, I couldn't hear clearly whether he said Bali Yosei shel Bailim or Bali Yoson. But I realized later that the Rebbe was referring to a lotion in Gemara where it says in Ksubas Daf Samachalov Amadalov concerning a husband and a wife. So the Gemara says that if there's a question, he is higher and she is lower as far as money or other things, so she goes up with him. And the lotion is Bali Yosei shel Baal. She goes up to the husband. So the Rebbe used this loshon, and they gave us and Rabbi Leibel that instead of him coming to us, we should go to him. So we all got up and we all went to his side. And then we wanted to say l'chaim because the Rebbe said we should say l'chaim. So the Rebbe motioned to us with his hands, one hand over the other, that we should say l'chaim on a full cup. It wasn't mashke, it was wine, but usually they would say on a little kelish of wine, or even if you used the big cup, it was not full, it was just a little bit on the bottom. But the Rebbe wanted we should fill up the cup and we should all say l'chaim. So we all did that. And then, after the next Siche, Reb Shmuel Levitin said something to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe answered him, Chassidish Nachas. And this was Reb Shmuel, because he was the Zayde of one of the four of us, which was Reb Sholem Ber Levitin. And then the Rebbe said to Reb Binyamin Levitin, who's the father of Sholem Ber, he should also say L'chaim on the full cost. And the Rebbe said, the parents who are there should say L'chaim. My father wasn't there because he lived in Cleveland. For some reason, Reb Shlomo Mizrachi's father wasn't there either. But the Ephraim Pekarsky's father was there, and he was sitting down by the tables. So the Rebbe said to him, Ayrzun is echt zwischen sei. And the Rebbe said out loud, Yofe keich haben mi keich av. The keich of the son is better than the keich of the father. Now, even though simple pshat, it means that the keich of the son is greater than the father, but in that same Farbrengen, earlier in one of the sichas, the Rebbe had explained the Chassidish pshat, that it means Yofe keich haben, even the fact that the keich haben is stronger, but that itself is mi keich av, comes because of the father. In other words, it comes from the father. Memele, as much as he said to him, your son is greater than you, but he meant to say also bepashtis that it goes from the father. And after that, the Rebbe said another sicha, and I have to say the truth, that the whole kavanah of this whole thing was that we should start remembering better and concentrating better on the Farbrengen. The sicha after this was very hard to concentrate. I remember what it was about. It was about this love and things like that, but it was very hard to concentrate because of this whole excitement, this whole thing of the schuz that we had. And since then, we started helping and getting involved in Chazara more and more, like the Rebbe had asked.